you were
Yeah.
probably watching Casey Neistat, those vlogs and stuff, and he
Yeah.
was using the 70D.
Yeah. I had like the 10 to 22 millimeter, which he recommended
Oh
in his
my.
video.
You just went to the description of his video and you're like, what does Casey use?
Yeah.
70D, that lens, we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. That I feel like Casey was like 90% of the reason why I got that camera.
What is it like? When I was 17, I was like playing Call of Duty and shit and like making like
RuneScape
montages
accounts?
and stuff, RuneScape montages. Um, like, how do you get started so young? I saw on your website you started like when you were 12 or something.
Yeah. So I like in middle school, like we put on like a play in seventh and eighth grade, and I just had the idea to do like a behind the scenes video of how we made the play. So I just used like my iPod Touch and just like filmed the behind the scenes of our play and like put it and like showed it to everyone like the night that the play happened, and like everyone was like loved it, and I was like, wait, this is something kind of fun. So I just like the next year I did made a video, and I actually had a camera. I had like a Canon 70D that I had saved up for, and that was kind of where it started. I had like a GoPro that I always like to use for like action sports videos, like when I went skiing or like any other times you'd use a GoPro. So that kind of helped with like the action sports side of my photography and videography. But that's kind of where it started, just like with my iPod Touch, and then just kind of going from there and finding an interest in my passion.
The 70D is such a classic starter camera. I remember. So when you were, what was this, 2015? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
This is like you were
Yeah.
probably watching Casey Neistat, those vlogs and stuff, and he
Yeah.
was using the 70D.
Yeah, I had like the 10 to 22 millimeter, which he recommended
Oh
in his
my.
video.
You just went to the description of his video and you're like, what does Casey use?
Yeah,
70D, that lens, we're in.
yeah, yeah. That I feel like Casey was like 90% of the reason why I got that camera. So,
Was he part of the reason you started?
I think yes, in the way that he was introducing me to like the idea of like making movies and telling stories, because he's not like your average cinematographer. Like he doesn't really, he's kind of like, he does like his own style, and I think that really kind of helped me, because he was like different in the way that he was doing YouTube differently and telling stories differently. And I think just like his way of videography and telling stories just kind of inspired me, because I loved watching his videos, and like I watched all of his when he consistently did daily vlogs. Like I was always watching those. So he definitely had a huge inspiration on me, and like was kind of the reason I got into it for sure. Definitely.
I feel like that guy started like a revolution of like kids filming stuff. I know he inspired me. I actually did some vlogs like styled like the way he does it. So cringe looking back.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
maybe
the lo-fi beats and the
oh, and
and
like
the title.
yeah, the low like the camera where like you place it down, you walk away, and then you
Hmm.
come and pick it up, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Man, that was bad. I was like 20 doing that shit. What am I doing with my life? But did your parents like start doing video too? Because I feel like were they like younger doing photography and videography, same as you?
Yeah, so my parents, we none of them did any of that when they were younger or now. But my dad had like a family camera, like that we used just like I don't know whenever we needed to. And so I guess that kind of helped me kind of get an interest in photography at first, just because like I could click the button and use it, and it was pretty cool. And I was young, and it was something new and innovative. So I think that that kind of helped me. But I don't think my passion stemmed from my parents' interest in it. But I think like the family camera kind of perked my interest in it, I think.
It's always the dad's camcorder. Like, what was it? Was it like the old Sony
It was
i8?
some like, so I think we had a camcorder when I was super young, and then I think he got like a Nikon something. It couldn't, it had to be like in the, I know there's like the 3200, it had to be in like the 2000s or 1000s or something, because it was so old. But it's just one of those Nikon, you know, DSLRs. Yeah.
So starting so young, like I just like I don't understand how you are this good at 17. Because like I mean I think Mose and I can speak for ourselves. Like when we were in high school, we weren't really focusing on like a passion or something. We played sports and whatnot, but like are you dealing with like distractions? Like how do you like focus so heavily to get this good at something at such a young
Yeah.
age?
I really love, I think YouTube has been such an amazing resource to me just because like I don't really take any classes. I took like some classes in high school, like basic level photography and some like video classes, but like those classes didn't teach me anything. Like it was pretty much all YouTube, just watching tutorials and like learning new techniques. And I think that kind of helped me to gain experience and just kind of get better. And I think having that free resource kind of helped me to learn it so quickly and so much at like one time at such a young age. So I think that kind of guided it.
But did you also meet people? Because like I find when I started like getting into it more and like connecting with others, like that's also where I picked up a bunch of shit.
Yeah, I think through social media, I definitely met people, but not until I created like my actual like photo and video Instagram account like a year and a half ago. Like I'm a pretty independent person for my work. I'm very like just me on it. So I don't think I made like I would say only one or two other people in my high school were interested in videography. And I think I'm just kind of like me doing it my way, kind of not really connecting with anyone. But definitely I've made a lot of connections through Instagram in the last year and a half. And I think that definitely has opened my eyes to like new creativity from other artists and stuff. And I think it definitely has helped because I'm pretty independent and I think it's helped me to open up a lot more.
Well, yeah, we originally connected through Instagram, like the Jack Bannon thing. Like I don't think
Mhm.
you did the challenge though, did you?
No, I don't. Yeah, I just couldn't do it when he was doing the music video challenge. But yeah, I met Jack through Tyke Green. I don't know if you know
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
He's
He
yeah, he
messaged me.
does he does stuff. He's a CEO of Watch Momentum, I believe. And he connected me with Jack. So or wait. No, Jack connected me with Taiki. I can't even remember. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
I think, yeah. I can't remember how I met Jack. I think it was just through online or something.
And then he
Yeah.
just added you to the group. Like he just saw your stuff.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. He just saw my stuff and was like, yo, your stuff is really cool. You should be in this group. I was like, bet. And then, yeah, we just kind of connected. And so Jack connected me with Taiki. And so I've been doing work for him. So Jack has given me like a lot of connections and stuff. Yeah.
What kind of stuff are you doing? Like editing and stuff? Or are you
Yeah. So
shooting some
I'm
basketball
doing,
or baseball
I'm
rather?
Yeah, so over the summer I did like some remote editing for Watch Momentum, and they're like all baseball stuff.
Yeah.
So I was doing like baseball interviews and just random baseball stuff. So for them, yeah.
It's cool what he's doing because it's like baseball's similar to hockey. Did you play or anything? I know you shot a couple times.
Yeah, I shot I never played hockey, but I shot hockey last year. Yeah.
So you're kind of getting in the world. You know, it's kind of like this like conservative, like old school, kind of like buttoned up thing. Like it's not like the cool thing in like the in North America. And what he's doing with baseball, baseball is similar to hockey, where it's kind of like that old school old boys club mentality, and he's just making it so cool. Like, what's it like working with him and like his? Because I talked to him on the phone over the summer as well, and he was just like, "Yeah, we're just trying to make baseball cool."
Yeah, so I did some so the videos that I did for him were like interview videos. So it wasn't more like on the baseball field or like videos like that, but it was definitely interesting like working with that because there's so many players and I think he made a lot of connections with the players and Trevor Bauer I believe is like works with Watch Momentum. I don't know the relationship he has with Taiki, but they like do a lot of the videos together and he's kind of like a partner with them. So I think he definitely like showed that like making a connection with the athletes and people you're working with is definitely crucial to making good content and stuff, which I definitely learned from this internship.
Now, outside of Jack, like who are some of the creators that you follow that you're like, oh, this person really inspires me, or like I want to emulate this person's style in my own work?
Yeah, so of course Gibson Hazard because
He's like the
everyone,
Standard.
default.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
entire editing community loves that dude, and for good reason. He deserves it. And I think I'm actually with my most recent video that I posted doing some Cinema 4D work, which I think everyone's trying to hop on that trend of learning it, and it's pretty complicated and cool to learn. And I think he's definitely someone who inspires me a lot and pushes me to, you know, make my make videos that are kind of next level. And I think who are some other people? Aaron Rollo is definitely, he did that most recent ESPN year in recap video. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. Um,
What's his name again? Something Rollo?
Aaron Rollo.
Aaron Rollo. Okay. I'll check him
Yes.
out.
Yeah. So he's definitely one of my favorites. He did like some concert photography and then moved into like the sports area recently. And
Yeah,
then,
his page is crazy. I'm on his page right now. His
yeah,
page is
damn.
wild.
yeah, he's incredibly talented. And yeah, so those two are probably, and then everyone I follow pretty much is people that inspire me on Instagram. Like when I look at my page, it's just like a feed of like all these different video styles and ideas. And I think that's something really fresh for me because like I can just kind of, get when I'm in a creative block or just like not feeling it. I think that if I just scroll through my Instagram or my saved videos, like I definitely get that sense of like, wow, there's a lot of other people out there that are doing cool things. And like, yeah.
But when you're in your creative block, like this is one thing I think we all struggle with is like you kind of get stuck on a project and you're like, oh, like it's just not working. I don't like this shit. And everyone has their own ways of getting out of it. Is yours just going to Instagram, or like how do you like get over like those barriers where you're like, isn't an interesting video I'm making?
Yeah, I think it's really tough. And I don't think I have a concrete answer for that just because like I'm still trying to figure it out and stuff. But I think one way I can one way I try to fix it is like usually when I'm at creative block, I don't have a good song for my video because if I don't have a good song, it just never really turns out as well. So I, kind of listen on Spotify and just like go through my weekly, just discover weekly or just different recommended songs. And I think that definitely helps. But also looking at other creatives and YouTube and just like kind of my favorited videos. But I think also like time, like it's important to be kind of patient and be like, okay, I'm in a state of where I'm not being super creative. I just need to kind of take a break, focus on something else, not kind of, because I feel like sometimes watching other people's videos kind of puts me even deeper because it's like, wow, they're so much better than me. Like I can't even do this. Like, and that can kind of put it into like a toxic state of jealousy, wherein like social media is a time to like, support others. But I think you can kind of get in this toxic situation where you're just comparing yourself and seeing who's ranking everybody and who's better in this certain area. And I think that's can be like both good in that you're like pushing yourself to be better, but also bad in that you're like comparing yourself because everyone's different in their own way.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing is you're following a bunch of these guys. They may motivate you, but at the flip side, it could also paralyze you because you're like, I want to be here, I want to be there, but
Right.
you're not.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't know how you balance that because you do want to be seeing stuff that inspires you every day, right?
Right.
It's the hard part.
Yeah. I think it's definitely hard to balance and that I I don't really know. Like at some points it kind of I'm like, wow, I can do this. These people are living my dream, like I can do this. But at other points you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this because like they're so talented and how am I gonna learn this stuff? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But also speaking of balance, like how the hell do you balance high school with doing all this stuff? Like that
Yeah,
just
so
seems impossible. I can't imagine that.
yeah, so I feel like online has been like a blessing and also bad in that I feel like I can I feel this year, like last year and the year before, I was like really focused on school and like I was taking pretty high level classes. And then senior year, I kind of, I didn't drop out of, do you guys know IB?
Yeah.
AP and
I
IB.
was in there for approximately like 2 weeks in grade 9. And I said, see ya.
I never sniffed it, but anyways, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I would kind of like went partly into the program instead of full into the program. So I'm just like doing part of the requirements. So I like kind of chilled out on that, and then just like switched some of my courses around just so I can focus more on kind of my video editing and less on school. But I'm definitely still doing a lot of school right now, just because like it's just trying to get through this this first semester of senior year, and this online setting is like, it's tough because I'm in my room all day. So I'm not like, when I'm at school, I'm in an environment where I'm like, okay, I need to get shit done here and like finish my work. But at home, you're like, oh, my bed's just like right behind me. I can just go lay down. So I think being online is like, it's different and hard to adjust to, but I think it's given me a lot more time to improve my craft for sure.
Yeah, like let's like dig into like just like how you're balancing it all. Like let's say you have like you're shooting a practice or a game and it's at night after a day of school. Are you just like editing all night to get this done? Like how do you like, let me give you an example. Like Gibson Hazard was on a podcast like a long time ago, got deleted. I've referenced it before. And he would talk about like he shot a future concert or his tour, and he'd like shoot a show, and then everyone would be partying in the bus and like driving somewhere, and he'd just be in his like bunk, like editing like the pictures and the photos, and or rather the videos. Like what's like your process, like, you know, balancing the two with the limited time you have?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on my mood. Like if the project is something I'm really passionate about, I definitely like export everything and I'm on my computer, and I'm usually up until like 1 or 2 a.m. like editing and kind of getting my ideas together. But I think like that's all I can focus on like that next like week, because it's just like, oh, I want to do this with the video. And I think it can be a distraction definitely, because I enjoy it so much. And I think that it can definitely hurt me, just with like my time management. And I think I'm still trying to figure out like the balance between like getting in my flow zone and and also like focusing on other things like a social life or school or family. So yeah.
Yeah, the social life must be tough because like I feel like high school is like most people don't know what they want to do. You kind of know what you want to do, which is like rare. So like,
Right.
do you deal with like the pressures of like, hey, let's like go? Well, I mean, COVID's a bit different, but I guess if you can speak prior, like there must be pressures from high school friends and stuff with good
Yeah.
intentions, but it might just
Yeah. I think like, especially like sports games, like everyone's in the student section and I'm just like on the sideline with the opposing fans.
yeah,
So it's like, I'm kind of like not really experiencing it. I'm just kind of like looking at my camera screen the entire game, which can be like a little bit sad just because like I'm not really there in reality. But I think like, you know, like I'm taking time to do these videos and I know they're going to be worth it in the end. And it's definitely like, it's definitely challenging, like figuring out like, oh, do I want to go hang out with people or do this, or do I want to focus on my video? And I think I mean, it's all about balances. Like what I've said this last half an hour is just like finding that balance,
yeah.
which I'm still trying to figure out.
Hey, I'm 24. I don't even know the balance. You know, like like I'll
That's
be working.
reassuring.
I mean, I bet you there's 30-year-olds that don't know the balance because like you have a girlfriend, then you got the job, like you're doing video and stuff, and then you also have like friends, and there's so many things like your physical health. Like it's pretty much impossible to figure it out. Besides just like hoping the next day you'll figure it out, you know.
Right.
But like moving forward, talking about balance, you have a manager. We want to talk about this. Like, what is that? What does a high school kid need a manager for? I'm just curious.
That's kind of a joke.
Oh, it's just for fun?
Well, my friend is like into business. Like he
Yeah.
wants to go to business school. So he's like, let me be your manager. And I was like, okay. Like 2 years ago or like a year and a half ago when I first started my account, and I was like, let me be your manager. And I was like, okay. But right now he doesn't really do anything.
You got to fire your manager.
Yeah, he's just kind of there. And like it got to a point where people were DMing him his account, and then he would text me, and I was like, that doesn't really work because I just want them to DM me so I don't have to go through another person. But it's just kind of a joke. Just because like he wanted to do the business, but I don't know.
I kind of love that though. Like it's kind of like
it looks professional.
Yeah, it makes you look legit.
Yeah,
but it's also like a fun little thing to do with a friend. Like if he actually takes it, I don't know what your relationship's like or what you do, but like if you were actually like both like learning together, like going up through this like space together, that's so cool. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to list Will as my manager.
Yeah, you'd be making more money if you did that, but doesn't want it. But anyways, I want to go into like how you're coming up with ideas, because I think the last like 3 months I've been watching your shit, and it's actually getting like better. You're adding more cool stuff, like you said, the Cinema 4D, and then I also love like the rotoscoping you're doing with, let's say there was that one video you just posted where the guy dunks and like you rotoscope him and the background goes blue. Where are you looking for these ideas, and like can you like walk us through that process of like coming with the idea and then like executing?
So rotoscoping has definitely been kind of a game changer this last, I would say, 6 months or so, because like masking is like a pain in the ass for every editor. Every editor knows that masking is the worst. And rotoscoping pretty much does the job for you, up to a certain extent. But it's definitely, I feel like for figuring out like what I want to do with the effect, I just kind of go to the effects panel and just start dragging and dropping stuff on and being like messing around with the settings and being like, okay, this looks cool, this doesn't look cool. But I've been using like Red Giant Universe, has a lot of really cool, they're like a editing software program you can install in. So I've been using a lot of that. And then
what's on Red Giant? Like what kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I put like Holomatrix on the background, which is what I've been using more frequently. And then in my most recent video, I just like when Imani Bates went up for like the 360 dunk, the background like moved to the side, and that's kind of, I got that idea inspired by like a music video I watched. I can't remember who the editor was, but like the artist, like the background like slid to the side, kind of how I did it. And I was like, that'd be cool for a rotoscope. So I just kind of figured it out and did it, and just like keyframe the positioning and stuff and motion blur, and yeah.
Is that all in After Effects, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so all my masking is in After Effects, yeah.
So are you exporting to After Effects, or are you doing that dynamic link thing?
I do the dynamic link and then just like render and replace it so it doesn't lag and stuff.
Yeah, the dynamic link has screwed me on a couple of things with the amount of lag, but I want to start doing the rotoscope stuff, but I just feel like I just don't know when or where to put it in. That's like my hardest decision for me.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's definitely like you have to do it in the right places, and like you can't overdo it because it can like your effects have to like add to the edit but not get too distracting where you can't really see the play that's going on. And I think that like when everyone starts like, oh, I want to get film burdens and glitches and overlays and those and all that cliche like editing stuff, but I think that when you sit down and actually like after like a couple years or like after editing, you realize like, oh, this is like a little bit overdoing it. Like it can kind of take away from my edit. So I think that adding like minimal effects that don't take away from the play but make the shot like really cool is kind of the balance again that you're trying to figure out. And I think that that's something important to think about when you're editing a video, and what I've been trying to reflect on too.
For sure. I want to just talk about balance really quickly, like just based on what you said about After Effects and kind of like figuring that out with your videos. Like that honestly has to take a lot of time, and I would imagine there's a lot of dead ends there as someone who's kind of like experimented in the same way. Like, so how do you balance learning new stuff with After Effects and kind of like hitting that balance of, okay, this looks really cool, but it's not going to be the whole video, with like just getting the video done? Because it's something that like Will's really good at, kind of pushing stuff out. And I think that I'm kind of on like the other side of like, I really like to experiment and like find new things, but I often find that like in the experimenting, it often takes like a super long time. So like, how do you square those two things away?
Yeah, I think After Effects was definitely a big learning curve and just kind of a roadblock in this, because I had to it was definitely hard to learn at first, and I think that it's definitely hard for every editor to learn it, and it's kind of like an ambitious software to take on. But I think like once you learn a couple techniques or tricks and stuff, you become comfortable with those and you start doing those over and over again, and then you're like, oh, let me try out this thing or this effect. And I think that like once you become familiar with like one or two things, you can start like kind of branching off into new areas. And like what I do is I just like watch a bunch of tutorials, and I'll watch like motion design tutorials or like animations or stuff I like never really see myself doing, just to like see how it works. And like when you watch a tutorial, you don't have to like always like do the effect. You don't have to practice it. Like I think like just putting in reps of watching tutorials and then like trying to practice it yourself is probably like the best way to learn it. And like you should watch the whole tutorial through and then watch it again, and then that's when you should try it out because you're kind of familiar with it, which I think is, you know,
it's like seeing what's possible, right? That's where like you don't even have to apply what they're teaching. It's just like, oh, this is like there's elements of this that can work elsewhere, you know? And it's like putting all those things together.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that. I need to watch more tutorials. I don't do that enough. Like I find the hardest part for me is like just like spending time learning. I don't know what it is, but anyways, where do you see yourself taking? You know, you're going into college, right? The next couple months. Are you in your? This is your second semester senior year.
This
high
is
school?
so my second semester ends in like 2 weeks, I think. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to college or not. I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. It honestly depends on this Corona situation, because I'm not trying to be online for college next year. But I think that like with my passion, like some editors like school and like editing and kind of like doing both. Like I do not enjoy school. Like it's definitely kind of not my thing. This last like year and a half has been like, okay, I found my passion. Like what am I still doing? Like learning these other things. And I think that's, I'm definitely like an outsider. That's definitely like not the case for everyone. But like I've been like, is college really worth it for me taking these classes? Like I think the question I'm thinking is like, is film school worth it for me? And it'd be like, oh, I'd make all these connections and stuff, but like I don't see myself directing in Hollywood, and I don't see myself like wanting to learn screenwriting and like all these like industry standard techniques. And I think that like what I'm doing may not be considered industry standard, but like it's working for me. So like, is that really the best choice? Financially as well.
Yeah.
And I think that this next month or so is kind of going to be me figuring out like oh, I can get a job for next year, but just weighing the pros and cons is just kind of hard.
It must
Because
be tough. Like you got to talk to your parents about it too. Like what do they think about you pursuing? I mean, are you a freelancer right now? Is that basically what you do?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So my parents are really supportive. Like they're 100% support me doing whatever I want, but I think they want me to make a decision that's best for me, because I think like I think if I get a job, like I kind of want to get out of my house. Like I don't want to be
Yeah.
living in my house, or just like I kind of want to get out of here. So I think like it's just kind of complicated with the situation that I'm in, because the college experience seems nice, but like all the other things that come with it, just like I'm not interested in. So I'm just kind of that's my goal for this next month, is figuring that problem out.
It's stressful. Like I remember when I graduated high school, I took a fifth year. I didn't decide to go. And I just remember seeing all the Snapchats, Instagrams, everything of like that college experience. You feel like you're missing out. But I can say, looking back, that was like 6 years for me, 6 years ago. Like I don't regret it. I think in the moment I regretted it, but I was like, oh, it's actually an asset for me that I stayed home. And like I eventually found my passion. Didn't really get like distracted or had to spend all that money on school, you know? right away. So like, do you think you want to take a fifth year and like figure it out, try to work more, and like see where it goes?
Yeah, I've seen, I don't know if you know Grant or Owen Moy. Do you know either of those
No,
editors?
no.
But they're both they both graduated last year and took like the year off. They didn't go to college and they did like videography. And I think that's something I might try, like just doing freelance for a year and be like reflecting at the end of the year, being like, hey, I really like this. This worked out for me. Or like, wow, this really wasn't good for me. Like my social life sucked. Like I want to go to college and like take 4 more years to figure out what I want to do. So I think a gap year would definitely make sense in that you could try it out and just be like, wow, I really like this, or be like, wow, this is not something I want to do. I need more time. So I think definitely a gap year would make sense.
But do you see yourself going more into sports? Like, is that where you want
Yes.
to take it? Because I think if you go to college, that connection to the NCAA, it's huge.
Yeah. So definitely I think sports is kind of like my passion right now. And I think that I definitely really like it, but I think that I don't know if it's gonna last the rest of my life or the next 5 or 10 years. So I think that like if I could like I've been doing some music videos recently and a lot of like and of course like freelance projects is just like a bunch of random other clients besides sports. So I think that um yeah, I've realized that college like sports is definitely something that will help me, but like like do I do I go to college just for their
Yeah,
sports connections? Like it's just kind of like
it's a bit
the
tough.
question I'm asking myself, right?
Well, I think Mose and I could both speak on this. Like, we went to school for 4 years. I took 2 years off after high school and like worked and whatnot, and then I went into school, and it felt like a big waste of time and money until like second year when I started connecting with people. I met Mose, who's a graphic designer, and I met my friend Max, who like we make all these videos for hockey, and we've just like built a huge connection and work full time freelance. I think like the biggest thing was the connections. Like it's pretty much a waste of time besides that one thing. But it's like, do you want to? I know it's more expensive school in the States. So it's like, do you want to go 50 grand in debt plus just to make some connections? That's such a hard decision.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely what I've heard too, is like you're not really going there to like learn it. You're going there to like make connections and internships and stuff. And I think that is definitely like worth it if you can afford it and stuff. And I think that like it's just, is it worth?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
that's
pros
the
and cons,
question.
man. Well, Mose, did you think it was worth it for school?
Did I
For you?
think going to school was worth it? I mean, yeah, for me for sure. In terms of like the connections that you made, but at the same time, like I think school's more expensive in the States on average. And like this whole Corona thing, like I tell anyone that's like thinking about school right now, if there is a better option and you can kind of like piece together like what you've done really with self education, I just don't know if like Zoom U is worth the cost right now.
No.
So it's something to consider for sure.
Yeah. And I also think like the community college route is also another option just because like I can get education, but I can do it for cheap. And also it could be part time. So I can have time to do video and stuff. And I think that that could also be another option. And then just transfer to university after a year if I want to go to college.
Based off what you said, you strike me as somebody that like who probably does a lot better with like open-ended projects and stuff that you like really take initiative on versus like being told you have to study this chapter. So like to me, it makes sense for you to do something a bit more project based.
Yeah, definitely.
hmm And you shoot a lot of sports. I want to hear some like. I mean, I've had moments where I'm like, you know, get chills down your spine when you're like filming this thing, like the drama unfold. Like, can you like tell us any stories of maybe shooting high? Like, you shoot mainly high school stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
with your high school, like high school football games, hockey games, and stuff. Like, do you have any like notable stories you can share about?
Hmm. I think yes. I think well, the story is up to a certain extent just because it's like a high school. Like I think the thing that comes to mind is like the first hockey game I shot, or I think it was the second hockey game I ever shot. We were like playing our rivals that was like the all boy preppy school, and it was like just and then it was in overtime, and we scored like the winning goal, and just like the shot I got was pretty insane, just because like he was celebrating, and then he like had an amazing shot at the goal, and I think that's probably like the most memorable, just because like it was a pretty exciting moment, and I got to capture it, and then I kind of realized like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, and everyone seeing my video and me like kind of reminiscing the moment in
Yeah.
120 frames. So pretty slow-mo and nice.
Exactly. Was there like, I'm sure there's one of those moments like that you were like, oh shit, this is like my passion. Like, was it the example about the play that you told us, or was there like another moment when you were a bit older in high school where you were like, whoa, this is what I want to do?
I don't think there was one moment. I think it was just kind of a collective, like collectively experiencing shooting sports and just kind of like being like, oh, I like doing this. Let me just continue to do it. And because it's like something I like to do. So I think that it wasn't like wasn't one moment where it was like that turnaround and reflection of like, this is what I want to do. I think it was kind of like a recollection of everything I've done in the past and what I want to do in the future, being like, okay, maybe this is something that I can do. So yeah.
Well, let's go into like your kit a bit. And I'm speaking selfishly because I want to know what other like sport videographers do. Like, what are you shooting on? Like, how do you go about it? What's your gear?
So I use a Sony A7 III, and I've had that camera the last, I would say, year and a half. And when I first got it, I got two prime lenses, a 24 millimeter and an 85 millimeter. And those were challenging to use at first, just because everyone usually starts out with like a kit lens, zoom lens. But I just decided to go with the prime lenses, and I think it kind of changed my perspective a little bit, because you kind of got to move closer and farther away rather than zooming in. So it kind of pushed me creatively. And then I got a 70 to 200, and that's after I'd been doing some sports videos and being like, okay, doing some research and being like, okay, this is the lens I need to get. And that definitely put me into some debt.
Yeah, of course.
The 2.8 is an expensive lens, so, but it was definitely worth it because I've had it the last year, I think. And so that's what I use for all my sports videos, and I really like the tight in style, even like with basketball. Like I shoot with a 7200 when I'm on the side with the players, just because that's kind of my style, shooting really tight in, and it makes it so there's not a lot of room for error, but because the frame is so zoomed in.
Yeah.
But I definitely is rewarding in that it's you get better depth of field, and the shots just turn out a lot crispier and in my opinion better. And then I also use a 55 millimeter that I recently purchased a couple months ago. And that's kind of just like a mid-range lens to fit like the 24, 55, 85 range. And then I don't use a mic that much when I'm shooting. I don't think the audio is fine, just normal out of the camera for like the sports that I'm shooting. Yeah, it's kind of chill. Just like it's kind of cumbersome putting a mic on top. I just kind of want to have a smaller setup. And then I recently, in the last month or two, just got a small HD monitor, 5-inch monitor that I've been using, which has been
nice. Yeah,
a game changer.
But you're going all handheld for this?
Yeah, so I'm all handheld. So I got a hi-hat, which is one of those like little tripods for shooting football, and I didn't like it. So
wasn't mobile enough? You just want to feel like you can move around?
I like moving around, and I like go on the sidelines, like where the players are, like standing next to them. Like I'm sure I'm not allowed to do that at college stuff, like be at the sideline, but that's just like I like moving around a lot, and a hi-hat just like kind of prevented me from doing that, and it was just kind of cumbersome. So the image stabilization on the A7 III combined with the 70 to 200 kind of makes up for my user error, especially shooting so tight. But yeah, handheld all the way is what I do for sure.
Yeah, I mean personally, I sometimes I go from handheld to like a monopod, Because sometimes I'm like, handheld just gets super heavy, and like it can like hurt my back if I'm shooting for like 3 hours. Maybe because I'm an old
Yeah.
man. I don't know.
Yeah,
Compared to
I'm
you.
young, and I feel the pain after definitely football games are long. So those I can feel the pain, but I can just usually set it down, and it's not terrible, but it can be annoying at some points having such a big and heavy setup, but it's worth it.
What would you say are some of the more important things that you've learned from shooting sports and being on the sideline, and like what has really helped you evolve as a shooter?
I think, as I said before, making connections with the players, because I think, I don't know if you guys know Kiwi on Instagram. He's kind of like, I don't know his actual name, actually. I just know his Instagram tag, but I was watching his live stream the other day, and the tip of like making connections with the players is so important, because how they interact with you kind of depends on that, and you can get such better shots, and they trust you and you trust them, like making that relationship. So I think like when you're with the players, they know you, they're gonna be comfortable and perform well. So I think definitely that'll help get you better shots, for sure.
On top of the connections, though, like what are some things that have made your videos from the past stand out more, or stand out rather? What are the videos that you're putting out now that are better than, let's say, a year ago? Like, where have you adapted your work? Like, where did you think that you were weak at, and how did you get better? Like, can you identify how you've been growing? Like, what are some things that you're actively thinking while shooting and editing for a video?
I think definitely shooting for the edit, having a general idea of what I want the edit to look like when I'm shooting is a good idea, because I know what type of shots I want and the vibe, and I know the song. So I'm kind of like not listening to it while I'm shooting, but being like, okay, like I need a clip for the beat drop, and I need a clip for where this song goes, like da 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 da. So I need like a bunch of different like B-roll shots. And I think that shooting for the edit is good. And I think improving wise, I think I've definitely learned to like control my camera better. Like, and in photography, like the settings are really important. So like, um, using my skills from like what I learned in photography with aperture, ISO, and shutter speed, and just kind of experimenting with those. And definitely like my gear has helped me improve. Like, um, like shooting at f2.8 definitely makes my videos like a lot better and creamier and stuff, and like having that soft background blur. So I think it brings my quality up, but you need to know and learn how to understand your gear to make it better. Like if you just like hand a noob like a $5,000 setup, like they're not going to be able to use it. So you have to be able to know and use your gear if you're using a really good setup,
Yeah,
for
like how
sure.
to get the most out of that camera with the settings and
Definitely.
what's not, what not is inside, you know?
Hmm.
But yeah, like it's just, I just kind of crazy that you're 17 doing this. Like I remember the first video I made wasn't the hottest, and I would watch YouTube videos, but I just couldn't like put two and two together. Like who are some, I watched a lot of Peter McKinnon. Who did you watch coming in?
Yeah. So Casey Neistat, like we said before, is definitely like kind of an OG of who
But
I
he's like not a
watch.
tutorial guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So definitely Peter McKinnon. I would say Peter, I watched Peter McKinnon at the beginning, but he doesn't, his tutorials are like good, but they're kind of like beginner wise. So like I watched a lot of Max Novak, and when I edited in Final Cut Pro. So I watched like two-ish years ago. I used to watch like Ryan Nangley, and King Tut's Pro. Like those guys were kind of like, those guys taught me a lot about editing and that software, and they were definitely like the people I watched the most for tutorials of Final Cut Pro. And then like for Premiere and After Effects, I've been watching Justin O'D show recently a lot, and his stuff is really good. He's super underrated for tutorials. Ben Marriott is who I've been watching a little bit for After Effects. He does more like uh, design and like animations and stuff, but I think he's definitely like I can like apply his skills and like tools that he taught me a little bit to my edits. So But other than that, like I just watch a bunch of different like random tutorials. Like I either like look something up specifically or just like something pops up in my recommended and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And then I'll subscribe to them. And every once in a while they'll come out with a banger tutorial and I might use it in my next
Mm-hmm.
edit. So I just gotta subscribe to everyone or add to my watch later, being like, oh, this is something I might want to look at later for sure.
Exactly. And I mean, I feel like every young creator is like, maybe I'll do YouTube videos one day. Have you ever thought of that stuff?
Yeah, I've had a couple of DMs being like, you should make tutorials or and I've thought about it. I think I don't feel like I'd be helpful. Like I feel like I don't know if I could like up to a certain extent teach people stuff, but maybe I'll come out like without like a class or something, like a course rather than a bunch of different tutorials. So maybe that'll be something for the future. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, Mose and I talk about this a bunch. It's like creators don't feel like they have anything to share, when in reality they have so much. Like it's pretty incredible. Like how much you do know that you don't realize could help people. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I think that like I'm a pretty like to myself person with my editing. Like I don't really work with others a lot and I'm pretty to myself. So I think it'd be hard like to open up and teach, but it's definitely something I'm open to. And
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy like when I had taught people, I definitely like enjoyed it. And it's like something I can see myself doing for sure.
Outside of tutorials and like creators that you follow, like where else do you look for your inspiration? Are you like a big music guy? Do you like music videos? Like where else do you pull inspiration from?
I think definitely listening to music is definitely something. But also just like thinking. It sounds kind of like I just like think of ideas and just kind of generate those ideas. Like writing things down is really important, like in my notebook or most likely my notes app on my phone, just because it's quick. Like if something pops in my head, I just like write it down and it'll just like randomly come to me and I'll use it in a video. But I would say I don't do much. Like creative ideas definitely come to me, or I learn them from others and try to expand on others' ideas for sure. I think it's definitely like a big, there's a lot of big inspirations for me out there that have helped me for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, David, man, thanks so much for coming on. I
Yeah,
really
this has been
appreciate it.
awesome. It's nice to meet you guys. And it was a very enjoyable first podcast. I loved it.
Yeah. Hopefully you do more. Hopefully you blow up even more. You're at 2,000 followers right now. You get to, something bigger and go on more podcasts. That'd be dope.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
All right. So guys, thanks so much for listening. Make sure to follow David at DRV Photo Video on Instagram. He's killing it there. Do a lot of cool sports videos. That's pretty much it, guys. Make sure to follow our social media at Render Repeat Podcast. We're posting clips, carousels, and everything, and our YouTube channel as well. Check out the full episode video there. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.